Enti member of parliament for Ningo Pram constituency, I was a minister for communications, innovations and digitalization. Honorable Sam Zata George, Ebusia, will address the public on how SIM card re-registration exercise no EBC eko e wo man kon ga ha no. No aside nkomo afa phone registration ho say ye SIM card re-registration no. Ye better register phone. Ofu ekra no ofu ekra no. Ye better register phone no. What I say. And metro mu ana be odin komo afa misinformation how chireme si ande say only if you are caught of misinforming the public it is a crime offense. In this video mejeble nan say men say nyina madwudwa bie mama am watching wanyante ase aha Penyah blog media mesra say dey mo oba like video na da ma oba subscribe watch na so na be click on notification icon for latest update na ba kire wadwe dey ama me e wo comment section mesra so ba so no wa share video ma nya so anya bi ahwe etebeka ya to ba wie ye His Excellency John Don Mahama etna kunya so 7th January 2025 you know. A man of starting ministerial appointment as a Emmy who said Honorable Sam Zata George was minister designated for communications, innovations and digitalization. Emma at the end of the day, no, after ministerial vetting, he will say he was being vetted very well and he was being voted for as minister for communications. Yeah, two man we ye chi aya appointed na I know this statement we appointed o chire mu say obi make sure say as minister for communication there will be a SIM card re-registration exercise. Emma no clock of found come be ba Ghana mountain so say Sam George na SIM card re-registration exercise there how because you didn't can sunlight Kayo Sam George don't forget you didn't can sunlight maybe atwam eja ye nwuma ho nema wo say ke ye eja no ho akwa sunlight akwa bibia even to the point say you call link Ghana card nyina me man no thumb printing fingerprint bibia biometric bibia ye wie eja face SIM card re-registration exercise baby mo and Sam Zata George addressing the press odin for how SIM card re-registration exercise ebeko so under his watch then go tinimra
asked about SIM reg and the CEIR, the Centralized Equipment Identity Register. So let's call a spade today. And we've had instances of this when the state, through its security agencies, needs to identify a person of interest using their SIM card. It's next to impossible. Because the SIM registration or re-registration that Ghanaians were put through about 3 years ago or 2 years ago did no verification on the back end. There was no single source of truth to verify against. And so yes, biometrics were taken, but they were not matched against anything. And that's why today you have SIM cards that are registered to people's Ghana cards that the people themselves did not register. That's why today, even though there was a limit of 10 cards per Ghana card, there are instances where one Ghana card has been used to register over 30 cards because there was no matching. Many people have, and there was an instance, law enforcement instance that I encountered in my very first week. We're working with the then Cybersecurity Director General. We identified a number, saw the Ghana, did a cross-referencing with the number, the Ghana card that was used to register the card, geolocated the person, security did an operation, but it became immediately clear that the individual whose Ghana card, who we had picked up on the back of his Ghana card, was not the same person as the person who was using the same card. And that's simply because you have unscrupulous people who registered pre-registered SIM cards using people's Ghana cards. You go and you try to register and then they tell you, oh, the network is down, it didn't go through, but they had registered a SIM card, and then they take your card again and do another registration. And then they begin to sell those pre-registered SIM cards. And so you will be an innocent person sitting down, and because your Ghana card had been used to pre-register a SIM card that was used in fraud, you'll be picked up. So people may think that, oh, but we went through the hassle. Yes, and I appreciate it. I was one of, in fact, I was Christian Stubborn Academy because I opposed the registration process because we questioned the technical basis of doing what was being done. And that's why I make a solemn pledge to you that you will not have to queue. You will not have to go and leave work for a day or two to get your SIM registered. There's a whole simple technical process behind it. It will be interactive. It will engage you. The regulator has seen the demo of it and how it works. We are very clear in our minds what we're going to do. Because if you've submitted your biometrics to the NIA, and the NIA has captured your biometrics, it's a simple opportunity for us to match what MTN or Telecel or AT holds against a certain number and cross-reference and send you a prompt to confirm if that number was really registered by you. So if someone has registered with your SIM, your Ghana card without your knowledge, and that number is brought to your attention, and you indicate that that is not your number, we blacklist it. If it is your number and the biometrics match, we whitelist your number and you get a prompt letting you know that your identity has been verified. Erica from MTN, and I mean it's a novelty that we had a player here ask questions. Any other thing policy-wise? Yes, there's a lot policy-wise. But like I said, I'm reporting for Q1 the things we've done. There's a lot of things that are in the pipeline or being worked on. For example, our smart data policy, the data exchange hub, a number of things we're working on. Support for farmers using tech, healthcare using tech. There's a lot we're working on, but because we have not finalized it in Q1, I'm sure that by the time I'm doing my Q2 reports, maybe in the first week of July or end of June, I'll be telling you a few more on the other things. I didn't want to come and stand here and say we will. So if you listen to me, everything I've spoken about is what we have done in Q1. And so there's a lot more from the ministry coming your way. Fiber cuts, absolutely critical. And we've been working with the chamber on telecoms on that. Engineer Ken Ashibe sent me pictures from my constituency last week where there was a major fiber cut in the Dawa enclave. And then just 3 days ago, Ghana Water cut fiber around somewhere, a very high profile residential area in Accra, and it's one of the problems we're dealing with. But I'm looking forward to working with the Minister of Water Resources, Works and Housing, and the Minister for Roads and Highways to have clear understanding that you cannot say you are going to construct a road. You cannot be Ghana Water and just go and cut into the road and then cut fiber. It's impossible. And again, legislation on fiber cuts, because the question now becomes, when the fiber is cut, they just cut it and they leave, and it comes back as cost to the telecom operators. And because the telecom operators are not descendants of Mother Teresa, they pass on that cost to the same Ghanaians, and we complain about the cost of data, because data can only come through fiber. And so when the fiber is cut, it affects our pricing, because in their model, they're always putting in a certain variable for fiber cuts, and we need to deal with it so that when roads are going to be constructed, they will get in touch with the regulator and the ministry to identify where fiber is laid, and then we can do the relocation of the fiber properly. I think that one of the things we'll do is keeping the designations of critical national information infrastructure and make it a criminal offense, irrespective of whether you are a road contractor or whether you are Ghana Water. If you cut fiber, you'll be criminally liable for cutting it. Because if you remember 3 years ago, when we had a triple fiber cut in the country on the same day, 70% of our country could not make phone calls. Imagine what that means for a country like this. Or when we had the subsea cable cut, what that did to us. And so fiber is now our lifeline. And so we need to protect it well.
I would tell him, say, you don't have to go join a queue. First, no NIE, Omudin Kaya first registration exercise, no. Omo capture be a biometric, and the Oma store or no one is Omo check it. Now I just wonder. But some things I was download staff 500 as another staff 400 as well. A bar, say, be was something captured, biometric captured. It didn't know say a link here. But according to some judge, they just captured it, but they didn't link it to the SIM. It's now no. They just look at the portal, na fe o ma match every bia no details bia to their respective sim and no be short na owe e no better see phone on is a Ghana hanomo a the issue of phone theft abaya high see area phone what I say kwashe phone abedoso some George the idea be aba is and no be phone area ho ban no cry no to me a nice initiative.
But we will go a step further to now do what we call the Central Equipment Identity Register. Now that is a registration not of your SIM but of your phones. Every phone has an IMEI number which is global and is a unique identifier, the fingerprint of your phone. And so we're also going to be sending you prompts to do the registration of your phone. Now there are two reasons why we do this. One is because of national security, to be able to identify the phone and match a phone to a SIM card and know who it is. That's using what SIM card in what phone. But secondly is also because statistics is showing that almost 60% of phones in the country are smuggled. And no taxes have been paid on them. And so when this register is done, it's easy for you to determine whether the phone that's been sold to you came in legitimately and whether the tax has been paid on it. If the tax has not been paid on it, you can demand of the vendor to pay the tax, because a time will come where if the tax has not been paid, the use of the phone will be impossible. And so there are compliance measures. But you see, the good thing about that is it also helps us to create an opportunity to improve financial inclusion, because now the access to credit using fintech becomes secured, because fintech operators who are giving loans on phone, who don't get to see you, know that in the case of a default, it's possible to reset your use of your phone. I was careful to see you when I said it is possible to. So we will do that, and the shortfalls, and stolen phones, for example. If your phone were to be stolen and you were to report, we'll be able to identify if your phone and your number match your Ghana card, which we use to verify and register you, and immediately triangulate and geolocate the phone and disable that phone. So then the ecosystem for stolen phones is gone. Because if you steal somebody's phone and a report is made, you can't sell the phone because nobody can use the phone. It's blocked and locked. And we're not just doing this here. Once we're done here, we're going to marry our Central Equipment Identity Register with our neighbors in the sub-region. So you can't even steal from here and take it to Nigeria. Or you can't steal from Togo and bring to Ghana. Because once it is flagged in any country in the sub-region, we will block it completely. So we are putting a few people out of business. But I think that's a good thing.
As we are from Kwana, you bet me attract akwachino back or tell me say after say yes SIM card registration area, there will be a need for phone registration of phone. There is an IMEI code, IMEI code. Our code every phone be a special one. Phone be one special one. Tell me say you better register every phone. Then you respective your link phone be to the owner or Ghana card. It is a phone you now will make complaints about phone with this IMEI code and either they can track it or they can better still block the phone. I say, and also a nice initiative because I know it will reduce the rate at which people steal phones. But even US phone. I don't know how he will do it, but how is it terminated? And a nice initiative, but I don't know how he will do this. Now concerning the issue of misinformation. Oh, I know be a oh, Jena no Pokajma wu. Oh, I know be a Chama won to me wu. Oh, I know be a Lemurs Ampower, we go last week, I transfer Lemurs Ampower. All this misinformation, some judge or young minister for communication, said, no, or more the Emrebi air bar, just said, it will criminalize misinformation.
Isaac from Ghana Online asked about fake news and what will be done. I'm clear in my mind, and the acting director general and deputies from cybersecurity are present here. I have mandated that a team dedicated to building digital dossiers has been working for the past 2 weeks. And so for those who've been engaged in mis and disinformation, know that criminal offense has no limitation of time. We will be going to Parliament as soon as Parliament resumes in May. It's going to be one of the first things I'll lay before Parliament, a specialized legislation on fake news. Today, you can choose to extend the reach of the Cybersecurity Act to try and do some prosecution, but it's a very long stretch. And so we're coming in with specialized legislation that will be very respectful of the freedoms of speech. Very respectful of the freedoms of speech. But where the lines are crossed on intentional misinformation or palpable disinformation, the law will be spelled out from Parliament on what the punishment will be. We cannot be in the jungle on the internet. And the law would work in tandem with platform operators to ensure that as quickly as possible we deal decisively with those. So once again, I repeat, the era of fake news is coming to an end. We don't want to act arbitrarily, and that's why we want to lay the law before Parliament and be backed by law. And so we will work together to work on it, but be minded, we're already building the digital doses. And so once the law is passed, we'll swing into action immediately to deal with it.
Or publish fake news on the internet here, it is a crime offense and you will be penalized for that. So when in someone sounds that I told you, Minister for Communication, what be address to the public concerning SIM card registration exercise, how it will go, phone registration exercise, and also the issue with misinformation in this country, Ghana. What is your view and what is your take on that? Shall I watch your comment comment section? How you Penyah Blog Media?